I understand that this topic for you is a pretty big deal. It's made a huge impact on your life. So can you tell me and the others watching, what does it mean to be made in the image of God?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It is something I'm very passionate about. It's been a world-changing understanding that I've gained over the last year and a half. A lot of us grow up thinking that the image of God, which this is true, but it's deeper than this, that it merely means basically that we have, creativity or some attributes of God. Sometimes it's that we physically look like God. I've heard a lot of different things and growing up. And I think a lot of those are true and accurate, but I don't think they're the whole story. So before we go further, let's just read it real quick. This is out of Genesis 1, verses 26 to 28. And it says, this is after God's created, the animals and sea and land and all that. It says, God said, let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground. So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it. Reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground. So, this is in the middle of the creation story. This is God's done all these amazing creative things, and then he makes us, and we're like the crown jewel of it. And this is when God says, it's very good. But to really understand it even more, I think we got to go back up to the top where, it's the top of that page in Genesis 1:1 and 2. And there it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. And so what this is it's an idea that God is taking this formless wasteland, wild, it's has potential, but there's nothing being sown out of it. It's crazy. For me, the Bible doesn't say this, but for me, it helps to imagine something like Mars or some planet that none of us have been on. It's there, but there's nothing really there, right? It's a bunch of rocks, a bunch of dirt, maybe some water over there, but there's no beauty in it. There's no purpose to it, really. And that's what the wild wasteland means, or the formless and empty. It's tohu vabohu in the Hebrew. And really wild wasteland is kind of what that means. And so the next verses are God taking this crazy land, this crazy, wild, dangerous, scary place, and making a beautiful, safe, productive, there's the word I'm looking for, beautiful, safe, and productive place for life to flourish. And then we get to the end of it and God creates us. And I think the image of God, really what it is, it's God saying he wants to partner with us in creating a better world. My wife and I talk about it as though when we're creating something good, when we're doing good, we're expanding the garden, so we imagine it as this big wasteland. And then somewhere in there is the Garden of Eden. And we as humans get to partner with God and expanding that garden and making things that aren't good and transforming them into goodness.
So in a way, I guess you're saying that we're being the hands and the feet of God. Right. And exactly. That's what it means to be made in the image of him.
Exactly.
Okay.
And go ahead.
So what if a person really understands what it means to be made in the image of God, how is that shown in their life? Like, how have you seen that has played a role in your life?
Yeah, well, as the great philosopher Stan Lee said in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, geez.
And, but it's true. I mean, in Genesis 1, we get a picture of God sharing his authority with us. He gives us this creative ability, and we see it all around us, right? Even people who don't follow God all the time, we're taking things that don't have potential, and we make, we've built cities, we've built houses, we cure diseases, we feed people with new food that we invent, new ways of farming. And all of that is taking this craziness, this wild wasteland, and making it have the potential that it's supposed to have. And so the problem with that is that we've taken this responsibility and this power and we've turned it around. We've usurped God's authority, and we've taken it and we said, okay, God gave us all this power. Let's use it to benefit ourselves. Let's use it to take, I'm going to take out the things that I want and hoard and gather and make it sure that me and my people are safe, even if it costs other people their livelihood and well-being. That's the story of history, right? As countries or as tribes or as even individuals, how often do I make sure that me and my kids are safe, even if it costs someone else their safety, instead of trying to find a way to work together? So in the daily life, for me, the way it plays out is that all of my decisions, whether it's, where I work, do I transform the place I work into a place of goodness and holiness and enjoyment and flourishing for the people I work with and for the customers that we serve? Or do I take my job as just like an instrument to get money so I can feed my kids and let it be that, And for those of us who don't work, if it's raising our kids even, or if it's, there's so many different ways to look at it, but the heart of it to me really is partnering with God again through Jesus, realizing our full potential of creating the Garden of Eden everywhere again.
Mm-hmm. So let's say that we've decided, okay, this is it. We're going to get involved with Christ and we're going to take this power and we're going to use it for good, like you're saying. What does that look like once we've made that decision, a day in the life? What are the steps that we can take in accomplishing that?
Yeah. So for me, the reason this has been so world shifting is because it transforms the work of Jesus, really, and what he did and what he accomplished. It makes it much more full and meaningful. So instead of it being, Jesus lived and he died and he was resurrected, and if I believe in him, I get to go to heaven, it becomes much more, which that's still true. It gives me purpose for today as well, in that because Jesus has become the new human, as Paul talks about, I get to, through him, through some mysterious, awesome power that my faith in him gives, I get to again realize my full potential in partnering with God. And so on a day-to-day basis for me, one of my favorite things is to pray the Lord's Prayer every morning and to be reminded that, part of what we are doing, is that we ask for God's will to be done here as it is in heaven. And so it's remembering the responsibility and the power and the weight of just understanding that God trusts me and he trusts you and he has trusted all of us to do good things, and he's given us now the means. We rejected it. And he didn't say, okay, that's fine, I'm going to do it all by myself, which he could have, and he would obviously do a better job, right? But instead, he made a means for us to still partner with him. So we're like a business partner or a marriage spouse, or there's a father and child. There's all these different metaphors the Bible uses over and over where God has a right to turn his back on us, but he has chosen instead to keep us. And, the last 3 days of the study have been all about that, right? They've been about being free. It's been about finding your purpose. It's been about your identity with resting in who God is. And I think through all those, then you get to the point of saying, okay, if I know who I am, what do I do with that? And that can be different for everybody. For me, it means, making sure that I teach my kids about Jesus, which is an obvious one, but it also means, trying to support causes and manufacturing methods and the ways animals are raised in order to promote wholeness, shalom within the world around me. And the more I learn, and the more I learn, the more aware I become of how my little tiny decisions actually have huge reverberations for a lot of people that I've never met and never will meet. But how do we, on a day-to-day basis, live with that? That really is the question. But understanding that Jesus and God trust me, little dumb, selfish me, to do that with him helps me make those better choices.
So what does the Bible say about being made with dignity in the image of God? And to answer that question, we are going to use the Help Finder Bible. So it says in Genesis 1:27, so God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. Dignity is understanding who God made you to be, a human being who bears His image. In the eyes of the Creator, you have great worth and value and have been made for a special purpose. Your dignity comes not from what others think about you, but from the fact that God chose to create you and create within you unique spiritual gifts and abilities. This should give you the confidence to boldly serve Him wherever He leads you.